The Virginia Wesleyan Marlins making the trek west to face the Lynchburg Hornets. It's a women's lacrosse contest on a beautiful Friday night right here in the Hill City Schellenberger Field, the site. And we are so glad to be back right here in the house as spring break approaches. It's another fantastic contest and one that Lynchburg comes into with confidence despite starting the year 2-2, the Marlins and the Hornets. Hi, everybody. Evan Gates and Kyle Haney walking you through this one. Kyle, obviously, we've seen this team come on Schellenberger Field and lose twice, but to good opponents. High caliber CNU and WNL, and the Hornets want to get that first home win tonight.
They sure do. Looking for the first victory on Schellenberger Field after, like you said, dropping 2 losses on the home turf. You got the spring break coming up, so we may not get the student section that we're accustomed to for lacrosse here on Schellenberger, but always nice to play at home. This is before a little spring break trip for Lynchburg, so they'll want to set sail with plenty of wind in the sails, if you will. It's 2 teams, Evan, that really a lot of similarities here. They're both 2-2 this season. They both have kind of a blowout loss. They both have a closer loss, and obviously 2 victories, so there is some confidence there for both squads.
Well, it's hard to take a lot from the statistics as we take a look at some of those team stats coming into this contest. And Kyle, like you mentioned, the non-conference slate can pose so many different matchups. You don't necessarily have a one-size-fits-all approach when you look at the statistics, but this is a Lynchburg team that obviously wants to use its defense to its advantage, and the clear percentage on your screen is a very big reason why. 83%. And if they can continue getting into transition, this Hornets team has a scoring up front. Sydney Dumas, one of those players that you know is going to make an impact.
Sydney Dumas is one of the elite scorers in our game. I can't wait to give you some numbers that'll back that up, but we'll talk more about her. I love that you hit on the defense there. Really, you got players like Meredith Bornholt, Taylor Doherty, so much strength back there on the defensive side. So, yes, Lynchburg is really rock solid on the defensive end. Now, goalkeeping will be an issue there for Lynchburg, as we have seen, and that's obviously a big part of your defense. The gals up front can be great, but you need somebody in the cage that can stop a few quality shots, and it sounds like Lynchburg is not going to start Alexis Sen, their sophomore goalie, so it's going to be Carson Quigley get pressed into service between the pipes again for this one, at least to start anyway.
Well, Quigley, somebody who can play the field and play between the pipes, like you mentioned. She's done that in the past, and now as a senior, she understands the assignment. Alexis Sen missed last matchup with some illness, so potentially expect her to be in the lineup today, perhaps in that second half. But the Hornets have to handle business. Virginia Wesleyan, they do have some new talent up front. We'll have to talk about it, and the scoring that just continues rolling for the Marlins. They want to come in and strike an upset here on Schellenberger Field. It's Virginia Wesleyan and Lynchburg. And for the hometown Hornets, they're back in the Hill City. Welcome back on LHSN. Evan Gates and Kyle Haney for a fresh 60 minutes on Schellenberger Field as the Hornets take on the Marlins. Let's take a look at some of our players to watch. And for Virginia Wesleyan, you got to look no further than the freshman, Reese Morgenthaler, out of Ana Cortez, Washington. She's started every matchup, 16 goals, and already this season continuing to explode, and she really provides a strike up front.
Team leader in draw controls as well with 27, Evan. So there's going to be a lot of situations where she will win that draw control, and she won't stop running until she gets to the net.
Well, as you said, she does a little bit of everything as well. Every stat department is filled with number 10 in Navy. And for Lynchburg, someone else who has really arrived as a new candidate this season, Margaret Scoggin, the sophomore from Raleigh, North Carolina. She started 3 matchups, and in high school, Kyle, played lacrosse, basketball, tennis, and swam. So she's not only tested on the field, but in every department, a lot of athleticism, and she's going to try to get up front and make some disruptions.
Always nice when you can add some new pieces, and you always have high hopes for your recruits, but she is one that really is living up to the aspirations and the dreams of this coaching staff. Margaret Scoggin, she'll be one to watch here tonight. Friday Night Lights, and it's March Madness, and we've got an International Women's Day tomorrow, so great to watch some women's lacrosse here. It's a time change weekend, so there's a lot going on, a lot to talk about.
Definitely a lot to discuss, and Lynchburg hopes to put the conversation away early. As the Hornets are in the home whites, they'll move left to right, and immediately Neely Morris running into traffic. We've been in basketball mode the last few months, and getting back out here on the Shelley turf, it's been so much fun, and especially with some new personnel.
Exactly right. New faces every year to learn. You get new stories to talk about. It's a Lynchburg team that, for us, we've been talking about injuries too much the past 2 years, as this is a team that we really haven't seen them fully healthy this season, and I know we'll continue that storyline here some tonight when the action kind of quiets down a little bit.
Well, last year, just 3 of the 18 games were decided by single figures. A lot of blowouts one way or another, and the Hornets come into the season understanding the assignment because they have a lot of returners and they know they can make some noise in the ODAC. But it has to start now, as already probing this offense tries to get into motion. Great dodging to get close. This time Dumas is outside. Now looking for Reagan Bradley. Great feed right to the forefront. Scoggin misses left.
Good hustle by the Virginia Wesleyan goalie, Melissa Dolt, to make sure she was closer to that ball when it went out. How about the setup, though, for Lynchburg? You really have to like that. You have to feel like, oh, watch out, maybe a turnover here in the back. But continuing the thought really quick, you feel like if you get more of those setups, Evan, something good is going to happen for you offensively. Well,
this team is so tried and true at this point. There have been a lot of questions asked, especially for second-year head coach Mackenzie Rafferty. And when you come into this year, the expectations are going to be high. This is a team as well for Virginia Wesleyan that would love to come in and set the tone early. Even in one of Lynchburg's wins, a game against Methodist, they were up just 2-1 at the half in a very low-scoring affair. The Hornets got it together in that third quarter, but the Marlins know if they're on the doorstep now, they can start making some noise.
Also noteworthy, both of these teams have played Methodist. That's the one common opponent. Lynchburg beat the Monarchs of Methodist. Virginia Wesleyan, I believe, did not. Let me double-check the stats here.
That'll bring us to our first free position shot of the game as well. So the Marlins will have a chance to test Quigley. We mentioned already Carson in goal for this game. 3 appearances in goal last season, though she had 14 total starts with the Hornets committee.
Yeah, team player, everything you want. I don't think she wants to be a goalie, but she will do whatever it takes to be impactful for this team. And got to get our first penalty there of the game as well, as Virginia Heffernan will hustle off, I believe, in a green card situation.
So it looks like the Hornets are down a number. We'll see how the Marlins react and if this Lynchburg defense changes things up. Morgenthaler's ready, sprints to the goal, upstairs and in. The Marlins strike first on Shelley.
Nice goal there by Morgenthaler. Nothing fancy, just using the foot speed, and she appears to shoot at this high right corner here, near post side, and you can tell she's got some foot speed, she's got some stick skills. Again, you don't get the goal-scoring numbers like she has. That's 17 on the season now, Evan, without being talented.
Well, it looked like they did their scouting report as well because Quigley really didn't have a chance to even defend, and this is a Marlins squad that has really converted free position shots at a high rate. They'll look to keep it going. So the success early on for the Marlins.
Virginia Wesleyan right at 500 on the season in the free position opportunities, slightly over that now with that goal. Compare that to Lynchburg, just 375, so right at 38% when you round up on the free position.
That's such a golden stat, too, because if you can really control those opportunities, you know the opponents are also going to start thinking a little different on defense, not wanting to give any of those up and put themselves in a dangerous situation.
Yeah, fantastic point by you. Let me clean up something I mentioned. Methodist did beat Virginia Wesleyan 14-11. Lynchburg took down Methodist 9-5, so that's the common opponent. But there's a danger in looking at that on paper and saying, well, we beat Methodist, they didn't. And I know Coach Mackenzie Rafferty would caution her team against thinking that way.
Especially early in the season. Still a lot to prove and a lot happening as Steinow was ready to go to the goal, and it's a free position shot on the other end. So Lynchburg has a chance to equalize in the opening minutes. There's a look at Morgenthaler's goal, stick right on the turf, and she has grown very accustomed to doing that this season. Steinow dodging, looking to go, oh wow, around and in. Beautiful work from 31 in white to get the first goal for the Hornets.
Fantastic goal right there by McKenna Steinow, third of the season, Evan. And this isn't just to the doorstep. I mean, she kicks the front door in right here. She got point-blank range and converted.
Watch the brick wall that she tried to dodge. So impressive. 2 Marlins on her hip. And Steinow, someone else who has just really started to find her footing. Played just 12 games last year. Missed the end with mono, and she is back this year really not only in a confident spot, but knowing this offense needs somebody like McKenna Steinow.
Yeah, she is a junior from Annapolis, Maryland. Looks like that's going to be goal number 53 in the career. So, yes, despite missing some time, very, very used to scoring goals. She can score them in big spots, and I would call that a big one to tie the game up here. I know it's still early, first quarter action, but always nice to get the equalizer there and play in a neutral position.
What the Marlins have done well early is still gaining possession, and that's what some teams against Lynchburg have struggled to do in the past. Those teams that end up losing by double figures might not even get a chance to round up those plays, and right away we see Lynchburg getting the draw again, but the Marlins still have a chance to catch their heart rate.
Nice run and pass there on the move. That was Neely Morris on the draw control, by the way, Evan. 3 of those in the loss to Washington and Lee. That was one of the bright spots, and Neely Morris really can control a game with her speed and stick skills in the midfield off the draw.
Well, she is the main draw taker. You see so many chances as this time side slot and in. Oh, wow, Neely Morris. The conversation opens right back up for number 19.
How good is this? A little spin-o-rama, and then, yeah, the sidearm quick release. What a shot right here. This is bag work from Neely Morris right here. This is fantastic.
Did you even see her shoot it is the question. It was so undercover. We're going to see, oh, wow. Quick hands and getting to her spot in a perfect situation.
Yeah, that's fantastic individual play there. You kind of channel the defender down to the left goal line, extended, and then put the foot in the ground, hit that spin move, and she makes the clock or the counterclockwise spin into the dominant right hand there, which is always dangerous and something that I'm sure Virginia Wesleyan will look out for if they didn't know about it already. You've got players scouted, you know, usually if they want to shoot right or left, and of course the best can go to both sides on you.
Well, if you're scouting on Neely Morris, don't go look at last year when she scored 8 goals, because that will put a little bit of fear into an opponent. And it's so impressive how we talk about Sydney Dumas and some of these main goal scorers on the team, but you see players like Neely Morris who can have those performances and right away just change a ball game.
Very impactful. And yeah, with Sydney Dumas doing so much of the scoring, when you've got a player like that, it does open up options 2, 3, 4 on down the line, because we know Dumas is going to get her goals. She's putting together another fantastic season, 10 goals, no assists for Sydney Dumas, but she'll get a few of those here eventually.
Have to imagine it's only a matter of time, and Dumas, someone who impacts every single game, Have to imagine Reese Morgenthaler, leading scorer for the Marlins, someone else who wants to enter those all-conference considerations. Gain some of that respect up front. Virginia Wesleyan right now working it around the horn. Here is Morgenthaler.
I think as a first year, she's got to be considered as a legitimate Rookie of the Year candidate. She'll have plenty of competition in that regard, but you look at the numbers, it's hard to ignore what she has done.
No doubt, and I don't think it's just the first few games that is an indication, because I think there's so much more left in the tank. Marlins right around 20 on the shot clock, and have to start working a little quickly. This Lynchburg defense doing a great job of keeping it in front of them. But finally, the Marlins trying to go down Main Street. Ball empty right on the goal line, and the Hornets will take over.
Good stand there defensively for Lynchburg. Couple nice jobs by the defense to slide and keep the offensive attacker in front. Quigley looking around, needs somewhere to go. Here's another look at the activity in front, and yeah, Quigley stone cold there with the save.
Gianna Delavan thought she had it too, because you're so close, and sometimes it's just really tough to readjust that stick when you're so tight with the goalie. Those plays in the circle can be a little dangerous, and you're starting to see it now, the Hornets, when they turn the volume up. The speakers will be blasting in a hurry as the Hornets and Steinow recollect. Great chance to add on to this lead. Through over 6 minutes here in the first quarter, we're starting to see some back and forth action, but Lynchburg wanting to latch on to the lead and hold it.
Yeah, I think Lynchburg's going to try to establish themselves here. Here goes Dumas.
Dumas, the dominant one, this time off the pipe. Just barely, and the Hornets have to feel it's only a matter of time after that one. Sydney Dumas gets so many plays just in isolation like that one, the one-on-ones.
Yeah, she can do so much there. She can make multiple defenders look bad with how just shifty she is, regular speed, straight line speed. Virginia Wesleyan had too many over the line there, and here comes a turnover.
Reagan Bradley gets it up the field. Steinow has one to beat and the goalie, and the referee intervenes. So the Hornets continue their march forward. Got to watch when Steinow's in that case. Here's another look at Dumas. It wasn't off the pipe. It was off the goalie. So quick reaction from Melissa Dolt as Steinow goes down off the turf and in. The Hornets back on the board. Steinow picks up her second.
Lynchburg making the most of their opportunities so far. Really good finish. I know Sydney Dumas wanted to convert the one a few moments ago, but this is outstanding from Lynchburg. Goal-scoring options throughout the roster. And there's another one for Steinow. Really impressive.
It's really difficult at this stage of the season because we're going to compare so often to last year. But having Steinow back in that lineup really opens up options up front, because now all of a sudden you have those two proven goal scorers. And we'll throw Neely Morris into the conversation. Don't forget what Reagan Bradley did as well, somebody who really had a breakout season last year. But you're seeing the scoring in masses, and that's what the Hornets need, especially knowing they have the defense on the other side.
I might have shorted McKenna Steinow earlier when I gave a stat. I believe that's 9 on the season for her now. She did have 2 last game against Washington and Lee. So 9 goals, almost in double digits, may be there by night's end. Good start for Lynchburg. Got to stay focused here. Still, it's just a 2-goal lead. We know the Marlins are capable, and we got to keep our eye on the goalkeeping situation, because it does look like Alexis Sen is in uniform on the sideline for Lynchburg. So perhaps we'll see her at some point, or maybe this is just going to be Quigley's game all the way throughout.
Well, Quigley is so valuable, and we already talked about how she can play different positions, but the fact she has that experience already and can be relied upon is going to be crucial. That's what the Marlins are going to have to figure out on their end, because Dolt has played every single minute this season, and obviously you don't want to think about injury, but you have to be ready in case those situations arrive.
Yeah, goalkeepers don't exactly grow on trees. I would say Quigley may be a little bit of an advantage perhaps in the passing area over perhaps your typical goalkeeper. Now, that doesn't give some of our keepers the full credit, because we've got some good passers, especially in the ODAC. But just maybe being a field player, you are used to making those longer on-target passes a little bit more. Granted, you got the bigger basket on the end of the stick, so that can be sometimes detrimental to your accuracy. But still, nice to have that option back there.
That's very true. It's like you're trying to get a beehive off of a branch. Good luck as the Marlins trying to not run into traffic. They have an opportunity now, but the Hornets defense again. Clean swipe. Virginia Heffernan, someone else who has improved greatly since her freshman season, got in on the action. Referee will intervene and the clock continues, or no, it'll reset back to 90.
Yeah, fresh 90 here for Virginia Wesleyan, but you really have to like the defensive presence right now for Lynchburg. Again, they're moving their feet well, they're communicating, all those things that the great defenses in really every sport do. It looks like Lynchburg is locked in on that right now, and it does appear that they're without their defensive leader, Meredith Bornholt. We don't think she is in uniform tonight, so you lose your quarterback of the defense back there. Maybe we should say middle linebacker, I guess, if we're making defensive references. But so far, so good for Lynchburg.
Well, somebody who's just obviously a senior, but also bringing a lot of leadership. And you mentioned it, to have that player go away, you got to recognize somebody else has to step up in this matchup. And there are candidates that are more than capable. You look at the physicality that they have. Heffernan's already shown it. Somebody like Chastity Corner will go in and really make her opponents rethink things. And here is Corner showing a little bit of that offensive ability as well as the Hornets continue moving forward. Margaret Scoggin going to let the offense set up, and you see the options around. How many passes until the strike for Lynchburg?
Yeah, can you rotate it around and maybe get a one-on-one matchup you prefer? Obviously, the shot clock will be an element in that, but I love the patience here from Lynchburg offensively.
Dumas sends it off to Bradley. Ball loose, close to the goalie. And somehow, the freshman, Poitras, able to come away with it. Hat trick against Guilford. Someone who would like to find that goal tally again. Dumas knocks it off to the freshman. Trying to go over the top, and the Marlins defense once again a little bit better. Dolt, great and goal.
Yeah, great save by Dolt. The pass was a little loose, though. It's going to let Lynchburg take back over here and get something going.
There's that clear percentage again that we talked about. Lynchburg really hasn't had any issues yet getting off the runway.
Yeah, great call there. And you said it at the beginning of the game, Lynchburg was 58 for 70 in the clears, 83% basically. Marlins are right at 62%, which is not bad, but definitely something Lynchburg's great at.
Dumas tries to thread it through. Once again, Dolt having the right reaction. She will just fend it off. It feels like the Hornets won't go away up front. Another clearance that doesn't go away.
Yeah, if you keep doing this, Dolt's going to have to make great save after great save. She's made a couple already. It's not often Sydney Dumas gets denied on the front porch a couple times in a game, let alone one quarter. So Dolt's doing great things. Got to be a little sharper in the clear if you're the Marlins.
Well, and Kyle, consider confidence as well, knowing that the goalkeeper can be maybe one of the best ones on the field, but you still got to limit those chances, because if you do miss one or two, that can change a whole game around.
Yeah, a game can really just turn on its head. We know Lynchburg has the scoring options. Let's see if Sydney Dumas wants to get involved again. She will not feel great about getting denied a couple times.
Reagan Bradley is the opening, trying to bounce it in, left pipe and out. Referee says let's keep playing, but once again, the Hornets really a trio of opportunities.
And it's interesting how different coaches will frame that. Some coaches will say, hey, we've got to finish those. We've got to make those. Other coaches will say, just keep knocking on the door. Let's keep pecking away at it, and eventually they'll start going in. So different ways to look at it. I think you're probably pretty happy right now if you're Lynchburg. After all, the Hornets do have the 3-1 advantage, and they've been so close multiple times now. 4 or 5 times now?
Well, 8 shots so far for the Hornets, a team trying to find its confidence after losing to W&L on the home turf. Still around the horn, and you're seeing the Hornets. The great part for Coach Rafferty is that they're not losing confidence, even if the shots aren't falling, but Neely Morris bursts the bubble in a hurry and knocks it in the right side.
Fantastic by Morris, and I think she could tell that there was an overload to the left side. It wasn't a complete isolation for her, but watch your replay. Really, Neely Morris, she continues to, well, that's the previous one. Let's see if we get a view of when she gets it back right here. Yeah, we're just going to continue the replay. So not many defenders here to work through because everybody was overloaded, Evan, and she took advantage. Great shot right there.
Well, a lot of players want to make the spin move there. Neely confident enough to keep the defender in front and still maneuver through. So we're going to take a quick break here in this first quarter. 2:07 to play. Lynchburg 4 goals on 10 shots and up against the Virginia Wesleyan Marlins.
On my team, I thrive to work as hard as I can. I mean, whatever you do on the field, there's a positive correlation to whatever else you do, be it personal relationships, homework, the way you carry yourself. I've changed since I got to King University. It's really helped me to develop as a leader. I think it's honestly the best thing that's ever happened.
In NCAA Division II, community engagement is an initiative.
The Hornets lead the Virginia Wesleyan Marlins 4-1 here on Schellenberger Field. First quarter action. And Evan Gates and Kyle Haney walking you through this one. It's been a fun contest so far. Pretty night here in the 4-3-4. Speaking of 4, you have 4 games between either of these squads this season. Virginia Wesleyan has 11 players who had started every contest coming into this one. And Kyle, obviously, you want that consistency early, but it's impressive for Coach Holt's squad just to see how they're continuing to try and get in a rhythm early.
It really is. You get that connection as a unit. You understand where your teammates are going to be. The consistency starts coming. That's something that Lynchburg really has not had. And I mentioned the last 2 seasons, injury problems, just kind of a variety of injuries and circumstances have kept Lynchburg players out. Last year, they only had 7 players that played in every game. Over that right now for Lynchburg, but of course we're only 5 games in, and then we've had a few players today that unexpectedly are not in uniform for one reason or another. So Lynchburg has not quite had the consistency as far as the participation goes.
Well, going back to last year, Taylor Doherty was the big one who had a torn ACL. She comes back for this year, but Carly Jackson missed several games at the end. We also mentioned it earlier, McKenna Steinow not in action. So some of those key pieces that have returned this year, you want to get going in these first few games, and it's tough because as a coach, yes, you want to have those players out there who played every single game last year, but you got to have a healthy balance.
Good speed there from Morgenthaler. Nice job by Lynchburg to really wall up, not let her get in close, and now a turnover. Hornets want to run here. Very nice.
Jamie Thomas lifts it up to Scoggin, and off to the races we go. The Hornets 4-on-4. Scoggin trying to go to the middle. Dumps it off on the far side. Bradley now outside to the freshman Poitras. Neely Morris, perhaps the quarterback, resetting. Similar option to last time. Feeds it through. Chest corner was so close, right in the circle, and the Marlins escape.
Well, you say escape, but remember the problems with the clear. Let's see, Lynchburg's going to pressure, a little full field ride. Watch Sydney Dumas try to lock in on defense on the far sideline. They force a long pass, and then here we go, turnover again for Lynchburg at the end of the quarter, so really won't matter there for Virginia Wesleyan. Might hurt the stats, but doesn't burn the Marlins that time, and a really good first quarter for Lynchburg comes to a close.
Well, obviously the Marlins have to figure out that department to advance forward, because right now Lynchburg 4 goals, but maybe more impressively they hold the Marlins to just 1. Virginia Wesleyan struck first. Lynchburg puts up a 4-piece to follow. We'll be back for the second 15 right in a moment. You're watching the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network.
Wayne State Medical School has been my dream medical school since I was 5. Athletics are important, but so is service, so is research, so is becoming a better person. And we expect you to do well athletically, but don't forget the reason you're here, which is to give back to your community and to get good grades.
Being a champion takes more than talent, more than the perfect pass, more than using your head. Being a champion takes the spirit to always push harder, the ability to overcome any hurdle, and the fire to be the best. Welcome to Division II, where the pursuit is yours to create. And the question isn't, can you do it? It's, will you?
A good citizen is someone who wants to make a positive impact, both in their communities and in the world around them. The Division III approach is absolutely the best approach out there for amateur sport because it wants student athletes to explore all parts of who they are. Be successful in the classroom, be successful in competition, be successful in the community. So our student athletes learn what it means to strive for and attain.
Comprehensive learning is being able to adapt to experiences and apply the things that I learned. Being an athlete and juggling academics helped me grow as a person, and things that I've learned, I was able to apply it in another field, putting them into everyday life. Developing comprehensive learning helped me.
Passion's love. Passion is love for what you do. Because I think when you face challenges, it comes down to how much you want it and how much you love it. Passion is what keeps you
Glad
going
you're joining
forward.
us.
Seeing
ODAC
so
Women's
many
Lacrosse on
people that were
Schellenberger
like-minded
Field
and
through
so hardworking
15:45 to
in
go.
their sport and
To
academics,
the circle
being
we
surrounded by
had. We'll see if
like-minded people
Lynchburg
makes you wanna be
continues
more
to
passionate.
sustain the
I think
momentum.
It pushes you to a different level that maybe you didn't think you
Continued
had. And you can
the
do
shot
the best
slot
of both worlds
early. They
and
just
love.
wanted to keep going and keep moving forward. That's
Abortion
what
to
the
me
Hornets have done on
is
several
the
occasions.
lived
We mentioned
experience
last
of our
year,
Division III student
15
athletes.
results
They
decided by
balance
double
life
figures,
from an academic
whether the Hornets
perspective
were
and the
winning or
rigors of
trailing.
competing at a high
As
level,
Jen and Orko on the
bonding
far
with
side
teammates and building lifelong friendships.
looks to
But
reset.
they
The
also are
Hornets
involved
have
in
an
their
opportunity.
communities.
They're
They work
starting to
jobs
really
and
win that
internships and
physicality battle, and
volunteer. They've
maybe the
learned
stat to pay
be
attention to as of
resilient.
now
Diverse
are those ground
experiences
balls.
are
Lynchburg in
setting
that
them up
first
for the
quarter, 8 to the Marlins 3. That's definitely something that can win ball games, Kyle.
Totally agree. It's interesting. Both teams have 3 draw controls. We thought Lynchburg maybe was getting the better of that. It just felt like that because of the ground balls. Also, 7 turnovers for the Marlins, just 1 for Lynchburg.
Oh, look at the weaving. Dumas just couldn't have the shot hit the right spot. Round 2 ensuing. It's a good mention, too, because the draw controls meet your eye right away, but there's so much more to the game when you look at some of the hustle stats. Neely Morris, somebody who can show it, and Steinow slots it in. Beauty on the offensive end. Poetry and motion as the Hornets make the connection again.
Connection is the right word. Neely Morris doing the work top side. She finds the cutting Steinow. Again, you have to pay so much attention to Sydney Dumas, so that leaves more opportunities and space for other goal scorers. And Lynchburg gets another one. It's 5 unanswered right now as you get to see Coach Raff down there just really working the techniques and the fundamentals on the sideline. That's the kind of coach she is. Yes, happy about the goal, but she had some kind of information she wanted to share with the young Poitras down there, so that's really cool. That's a good shot. Lynchburg on top, 5-1.
Well, that's what you love to see, and the worst news is on the other bench that Shawnee's Roan gets carded a yellow, and she will head to the box. So Lynchburg right away. Going to take the draw and be right back to business.
Yeah, Roan is a senior from Portsmouth, Virginia, listed as a midfielder, but she's been doing a lot of work on the defensive end, so that will not be a good thing for the Marlins, who are just looking to find some kind of traction in this one.
What's bound to catch up to you as well, when you are playing defense just an extended amount of time, you understand that physicality is going to come sooner or later.
Exactly right. And honestly surprising Lynchburg hasn't had a few more draw controls. Credit Virginia Wesleyan for staying legal for the most part with their defense.
Hornets, Poitras looks to go over, stick on the ground, yes it is. And the Hornets once again show off the depth and versatility with the freshman, Liz Poitras, the freshman from Yorktown, Virginia. Gets her first goal after that Guilford contest that she put up a hat trick in. You're seeing it right now, just weaves it over the top. Sometimes it's simple as that.
Yeah, did you see she initially wanted to shoot right-handed there and switched it, went with the dominant left hand on top and finished it away. So that is high skill in addition to having just some athleticism to get open enough. The skill there in the stick handling to get the goal, 6 unanswered now for Lynchburg. Hornets really rolling.
Say that conversation paid off. Whatever Coach Rafferty was talking about.
Coach Raff can take some credit for that goal.
Didn't take long as the freshman's on the board. Lynchburg's up 6-1. Back to the circle we go. Also selfishly want to know if Lynchburg gets credited for a draw when the Marlins had the penalty. Because you saw the Hornets immediately took possession, but there really wasn't a contest for that draw control. I don't know if we're supposed to know that stuff or not. That might be a statistician thing.
Some of the folks watching probably know the answer, but yeah, that's a good point. And sometimes that's what people say when they say, well, the stats don't always tell the whole story.
Correct.
That you can file that one under that. Lynchburg's got another draw control. That was Steinow just putting her foot on the accelerator and sprinting into that one to get the offense set up for Lynchburg.
Well, the Hornets really starting to look confident now, whereas in those first few minutes it was a little different. The picture is unfolding. Reagan Bradley's exploding right into the middle, and the Hornets keep the train steaming forward. Opportunities left, right, and middle, and number 4 is on the board.
Another senior talent, veteran presence. I've got that as being goal number 31 of her career. Little underhanded handoff from Jenna Norco. Turn the corner. Nobody steps in front for Virginia Wesleyan. And it's no problem for Lynchburg's Reagan Bradley.
Bradley is so impressive and somebody that we mentioned last year had really big results, but you don't always see it in the moment. Sometimes it takes time to get out and recognize those contributions. She shot 54%, 28 goals and 8 assists. And when you look at her freshman and sophomore season, those stats weren't necessarily there at the same rate. She has really started to build confidence, and she is a mainstay in that lineup for Coach Rafferty.
And another one that when you look at the stat sheet does a little bit of everything. 4 draw controls coming into the game, 3 ground balls, some caused turnovers. So full field player and definitely a capable scoring option.
Look at the hustle from Steinow as Morgenthaler's down on the turf. No call. The Marlins have to wait this one through. Steinow was giving chase after the draw. And Reese Morgenthaler, not the player you want to see hit the ground.
Yeah, it was a good little drag race there between Steinow and Morgenthaler, and those two can probably lay claim to be two of the fastest on the turf right now. Ended up a little bit of a collision there in turn 3 as they were going to it. Morgenthaler is on her feet. No need for the athletic trainer, so that's a good sign there. And we're ready for another Lynchburg scoring chance.
Hornets have been dominant really ever since the first 5 minutes. Getting the committee involved, and we'll see who is next. Steinow already has 3 goals for a hat trick. This time, though, the pass goes errant. Marlins can try and pick it up. Daphne Myers weaving through traffic. She'll get the call, and Virginia Wesleyan can press forward. Something that's interesting, as you'd think with how much trouble they've encountered with possession, that they would have waited for a second, maybe regathered. You see the confidence still. They're going to press forward.
Yeah, I think you're right. Different schools of thought there. I think coaches want the players to play with the freedom of, hey, if you see an opening and you think you can just sprint out of there with it, go for it. interesting to note that, though. I think that's a great point by you, and we'll have to keep our eyes on that. Let's see how many more stops the Marlins can get. You know, Lynchburg, with this goal-scoring barrage, Carson Quigley hasn't been too busy back there between the pipes.
That's a great sign, but you got to be ready when that moment happens because you know it can in a hurry. Some transition opportunities as the Marlins still trying to reset. A team led by Madison Heck in her second season as the head coach, and you look back to last year, it's a roster that's a little bit different up top. They lost Helen Kennedy Butler, their leading scorer, with 40 goals. As this one's off the mark, Marlins can repossess. And so it is Reese Morgenthaler's opportunity to really open the door and start setting that culture. And we know that this is obviously a recruit from Coach Heck. And so you start building year after year and getting a team that has more of your handprint on it. It'll be interesting to watch Virginia Wesleyan in the years to come.
Sure will, and I think that's Alexis Sen back there. Yep, number 29, back in the cage for Lynchburg. So the sophomore transfer from West Virginia Wesleyan has taken over in goal after, I believe, just a full one quarter there from Carson Quigley. So now we got to start scanning. Did Carson Quigley take the gear off, and is she out there running around in the field somewhere possibly?
Initial look, not seeing her on the bench, so we'll keep our eyes peeled for number 3. But overall, an impressive first quarter. And Sen, somebody that we haven't really gotten to talk about much yet, as you saw that last play. Let's take one more look. Sen was really in the good spot, but coming in as a transfer, as a goalie for a team that obviously lost some of those looks from last year, you got to have confidence knowing that this is a great opportunity and you're still just a sophomore.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Lynchburg, being 10-8 last year with the uncertainty that they had at goal, I think they felt pretty great about that. There's a good little transition defense exchange by Lynchburg. Let's see if they can clear it.
Jamie Thomas doing everything she can. She has the Marlins swarming around. If you remember from last year, or you're maybe affiliated with one of the incoming freshmen, it was really a field hockey goalie that came in, and Kayla Brady, and played a good majority of the season at goal for the Hornets. They had some shared responsibilities, but this time we got to talk about offense. Sydney Dumas, shifty, in a hurry, gets to her spot and slams the door shut. The Hornets take it off in this second quarter.
The junior from Kennebunk, Maine, has been cooking tenders her entire career at Lynchburg. Another look at it. Great stick handling, kept it up high, finished it. Sydney Dumas, that's now goals in 37 of 40 games played. So
That's
she's
incredible.
she's only not scored 3 times in her career. One of those was the CNU game earlier this year,
Yes.
Evan, where she really only played the first few minutes of the game. It's hard to even count that one against her. But yes, the quality from Sydney Dumas. And I love the fact that, you know, Lynchburg got the first 7 goals without her scoring. She's a team leader with 11, but they got 7 without her services. You say without. I mean, she's got such gravity. She attracts defenders, of course. But I think that's a great sign for Lynchburg going forward, that they have got multiple options that they can go to, bunch of ammunition out there that they can fire at any moment.
That's a great point, and they've played great defense on number 7 in White so far. That was her 4th shot, finally gets one to fall. But you mentioned that consistency at which she scored last year, scored in every single game, and really racked up those hat tricks as well. You can go up and down the stat sheet. 100th career goal to start this year. I think that one was the eye-opener. It put stuff into perspective because you recognize in a junior season to have already captured that. It's not only that she's scoring goals, but it's that she's been in that leadership position really since freshman year.
Exactly right. Her sister was a great player here for the Lynchburg Hornets, and yeah, she is a leader out there, and she doesn't mind sharing the spotlight too, and that's what those best players really are all about. They know when it's their time to step up, and they know when it's time to shine it on somebody else.
Lynchburg's defense trying to step up. Gianna Delavan had another great opportunity, the local from Virginia Beach. Offense looks to reset and try to find that second goal. That's been the question mark they've really faced all game long. Got the first one. And, of course, that time, courtesy of number 10, Reese Morgenthaler, player to watch for the Marlins. But ever since, she's really having that momentum stifled by the Hornets defense.
They've got outstanding coverages on her. The help side defense is fantastic. Lynchburg's given her a lot of busy, crowded looks in the middle there. Tight windows to pass through. Right now, Lynchburg's rock solid. Shot clock down to 7.
Gotta hurry. Carly Jackson playing tight defense. Pass over the top right next door to the goal. And the shot clock will go off. Kenna Duplichin had a golden chance.
Yeah, it was really, for such a late shot clock opportunity, actually turned into an A-plus look up
quality. Got to watch out, though. The Hornets trying to slide it forward. Dumas had a pass that goes all the way over the line. But, I mean, that's another example. You start this conversation, you're thinking, okay, the Hornets have a few seconds. That clear percentage on full display because they are so quick up the field.
They really are running the turf well. They appear to be in great shape. It'll be 2 games next week on the spring break trip. Virginia Wesleyan's got a couple home games next week, so that'll be good for the Marlins to get back in Virginia Beach and play some lacrosse. But yeah, Lynchburg right now, their fitness and just flat-out speed is impressing me a bunch.
Well, that's something Coach Rafferty has really had a big part of, and you understand, too, next week you mentioned the Hornets play twice. That's in Florida, and it's not an easy place to play. Even in March, it's going to be hot down there. You got to be ready for every situation. I think the Hornets are going to embrace it. Playing just a few days after this contest, you get this Friday night against Virginia Wesleyan, and then after going on the road, it's Monday at Warner University, and then Wednesday with Otterbein.
Cue the cliche, it's not the heat, it's the humidity.
Yes. That doesn't make it feel better, though.
No, exactly right. You can get some of that in Florida in March as well, so that'll be fun. Plus, you know, the trip, you're staying in the hotel, you're probably not getting to bed at 9 o'clock every night when you're in there with your teammates having fun.
Spring break.
Yeah.
Got to enjoy it, and have to imagine this time Marlins will enjoy their chance with a free position shot, maybe the best chance they've had since that first goal.
Yeah, if you're Virginia Wesleyan really looking for traction right here, Creelan Bastinelli will get the free position from straight away.
One of the freshmen tries to go from 12 o'clock on the clock. Doesn't matter. It's going to go and wind out of bounds. Guess that's a 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock shot if we're trying to look at the old analog.
But I like that, though. I like the fact that you tried it, you know. I think it was Virginia Heffernan and maybe Chastity Kerner there that got a piece of that. Great stick work. Lynchburg, again, defensively, just so sound right now. First 5 minutes of this game, we felt like it was even back and forth, blow for blow. But after that, it has been all Lynchburg so far on both ends. And for that matter, in the middle, in the transition game, Lynchburg's been great there too.
Well, and look how quickly these attackers are really heckling this Marlins defense as well. Dumas had some strong contact as Duplichin was trying to get up the field. And this time, great chance to clear. Shawnee's Roan.
Yeah, it was a good turn there, and right time to offload that too as she was running out of gas.
Adriana Gunther, whose services are also on the soccer field, the grad student from Baltimore, Maryland, an all-conference type of player, and this Virginia Wesleyan Marlins soccer team beat Lynchburg's soccer team right here on this field in the fall. Someone that we talked about a lot was Gunther, and it's impressive because you don't always see soccer and lacrosse as the mix, especially at the collegiate level.
Fascinating point, and really think about, you know, you're a student athlete, Evan. Think about the difficulty there. You got to play 2 sports. Oh, and you're supposed to go to class occasionally too.
Sometimes.
Right.
Don't really have an off season. You're either getting ready or coming right out of it all. Golden opportunity, and you could tell Morgenthaler wants that one back. Inches away.
Fantastic setup there. I think it started with Gunther with the screen up top.
Similar look this time, and Sen has it in her stick, but you start to see some of those rotations. It's really about the timing, and some of those players who can be sneaky right by the circle are going to get that upper hand in that situation.
Excellent there from Dumas to go get it, basically, from Sen. She could tell she was looking around, didn't know where to go. Dumas made herself available right in the middle to start this break.
Well, connect the dots. The Hornets are already back up the field, and Jenna Norco starts the surveying. 3:15 to play in the second quarter, one that has belonged solely to Lynchburg. Much like that Methodist contest, they could get out of here allowing just 1 goal in the first 30 minutes, and that's a pretty impressive feat this early in the season when you're still hammering down your defense. And by the way, Meredith Bornholt isn't in the lineup. Tell you who is. Chastity Corner turns and laces it home. The Hornets starting to have a field day on Schellenberger.
Junior midfielder with a excellent goal right here. This was outstanding stuff. Should be career goal number 7 for her. So again, Lynchburg's getting everybody involved. Goal scoring party on Schellenberger. What a way to spend a Friday night.
She made that look easy, but the turn and fire is really difficult to execute, especially when you have pressure all around. And Corner, somebody who obviously can score, and she does so well, but she won't necessarily be that first player to look for the option. She takes it this time, and last year, Kyle, she had 5 goals on just 6 shots, so that efficiency on display.
Yeah, that tells you she's not taking a rip just willy-nilly. It's not a shotgun. It's more of a sniper rifle, and she's going to wait till she gets those golden opportunities and makes the most of them. I love her speed and her work rate. She's one of those players, you watch her, it seems like she's always running, never seems to slow down, has that high motor is the other phrase that you hear for that.
That's what you want, and especially when you bring the physicality as well, you know that you can put somebody out there on the field who is not going to allow any easy goals. Don't necessarily want to say she's the enforcer, that type of role, but you do want somebody on the defense who is running around in capital letters.
That's a great way to phrase it. She can do that. There's a bunch of players for Lynchburg that can do that. We get a stoppage here. Let's see how – oh, Morgenthaler's going to have to give that one up. Unfortunately, that went against Virginia Wesleyan. You could just look at the body language. She didn't seem particularly happy about having to toss that one back to the Hornets.
Well, especially with the way that Lynchburg's moving up the field.
Yeah, Megan Wheeler, I believe. Don't think we've called Megan Wheeler's name, but she's a 5'11 defender who's got some range and clearly some foot speed, bringing it up that near left sideline.
17 starts and 18 appearances last year, really a mainstay in that lineup, and she's somebody who is constantly getting opportunities. Coach Rafferty has really appreciated that on the back end. Hornets have the mainstay contributors up front as well. They've put a 9-piece on the scoreboard, trying to crack double figures in the first half. Bradley offloads right next to the net. Who wants to fire? Hornets trying to get in the area code. Isabella Vogel ends up losing this opportunity. One of the other freshmen on this roster from Shrewsbury, Pennsylvania.
I think it was Madison Pfister helping out on the takeaway there for Virginia Wesleyan. She was one that we looked at her numbers and kind of targeted her earlier, but haven't been able to call her name too much. Good defensive sequence there for Virginia Wesleyan. Unfortunately, that clear again. They're going to have to play D again.
Hornets had a chance as Hossauer was rolling through. So 45 seconds on the game clock. You can forget the shot clock now. What do the Hornets have in store? Maybe one more chance. And a little bit of a different rotation as well.
Trying some different combinations here. Part of it is the margin. Lynchburg's got a little flexibility there. Norco's going to run off the screen.
So shifty when she can get close to the circle, and we'll wait for the call. The Hornets will have another pre-position opportunity.
Yeah, I love Jenna Norco's game. You mentioned shifty. We had that great interview with her after a 2-goal outburst in a contest last year. That was a fun one. That was one of our very different interviews, but I probably the most fun.
Got to look it up. It'll tell the full story.
Yeah.
Hornets have great personality on this team up and down the roster. I think the same can be said for any sports team in D3 for that matter, but this Lynchburg team is always bringing the fun to the equation. You can see some of those videos on the social media as well. Hornets are going to have to rip. One final chance. Can Lynchburg get the shot off? Time expires, and it won't matter. But the Hornets, a dominant display on Schellenberger Field. Our fans are enjoying it here on a Friday night. Spring break has started. We promise the other students are still on campus, but they might have headed home for the break. This Lynchburg women's lacrosse team still in attendance, and they're still making a difference. They're up 9-1 over Virginia Wesleyan. So we will be back to discuss some halftime stats and analysis, but through 30, Lynchburg on a roll.
Being a champion takes more than talent, more than the perfect pass, more than using your head. Being a champion takes the spirit to always push harder, the ability to overcome any hurdle, and the fire to be the best. Welcome to Division II, where the pursuit is yours to create. And the question isn't, can you do it? It's, will you?
A good citizen is someone who wants to make a positive impact, both in their communities and in the world around them. The Division III approach is absolutely the best approach out there for amateur sport because it wants student athletes to explore all parts of who they are. Be successful in the classroom, be successful in competition, be successful in the community. So our student athletes learn what it means to strive for and attain.
Comprehensive learning is being able to adapt to experiences and apply the things that I learned. Being an athlete and juggling academics helped me grow as a person, and things that I've learned, I was able to apply it in another field, putting them into everyday life. Developing comprehensive learning helped me.
Passion's love. Passion is love for what you do. Because I think when you face challenges, it comes down to how much you want it and how much you love it. Passion is what keeps you going forward. Seeing so many people that were like-minded and so hardworking in their sport and academics, being surrounded by like-minded people makes you want to be more passionate. I think it pushes you to a different level that maybe you didn't think you had, and you can do the best of both worlds and love.
Proportion to me is the lived experience of our Division III student athletes. They balance life from an academic perspective and the rigors of competing at a high level, bonding with teammates and building lifelong friendships. But they also are involved in their communities. They work jobs and internships and volunteer. They've learned to be resilient. Diverse experiences are setting them up for the
Responsibility is being accountable for your words and actions, first and foremost. It also is an obligation to be a positive influence in the communities around you. Being in a D3 program, you're going to have lots of different opportunities. You're not just an athlete, you're also involved in student life. Your academics are extremely important. We give a lot of our student athletes responsibilities right from the start by giving them leadership opportunities, by having them engage in the community, be a positive.
I believe sportsmanship is it's a mutual admiration and respect for your fellow competitors. We all go through a lot to reach the point where we compete against one another. It's important to realize that. So once we're finally on the field or on the court or on the starting block, we look at each other as fellow human beings and not just competitors. Being able to
I teach the art of fanology, a job I take seriously. As to the question of nature versus nurture, is a fan born or is a fan made? I know this. Our game can make a fan out of anyone. And at Fandom U, we take it to a whole new level. The NCAA championships, attended.
The Hornets have put up 9 goals unanswered to start this third quarter on a big-time run, and we have really continued to see the confidence on display, but also it feels like contributions are coming from all around. This Lynchburg roster is putting up big numbers, and they're doing so courtesy of their defense. 8 for 8 in the clears department. Kyle, it feels like that's the difference maker.
It sure does. 11 ground balls, that helps too. Lynchburg as a unit has 5 caused turnovers. You mentioned the team concept. It's 9 goals from 6 different players. Stein now has the hat trick. Neely Morris has 2. All the others have 1. Who gets into that multi-goal category here as the second half unfolds? And how much fight back do the Virginia Wesleyan Marlins have here in half number 2?
Has to start soon, and it has to start with a player in the penalty box. We will see how this team reacts. Joy Ramsey sits momentarily. Lynchburg has numbers and a chance to break into double figures. Really felt like that offense started to hum as we got later into the first half, and courtesy of some of the passing that we've already talked about, but the cuts are so sharp and they're so timely as Carson Quigley was about to head into the circle or nearby. She's going to have a chance now with a free position opportunity. Adult in goal. Have to hold her own.
The NCAA expresses
this could be a great sequence here or a great game. Quigley's going to pass it. I was hoping she'd have a goal and a save in the same game. Because if you missed it, Carson Quigley started in goal for Lynchburg. She's got 4 saves. So that's one for the stat heads there. How many times has a player had X amount of saves and X amount of goals or other stats in the same game? Because typically it doesn't happen. Now, of course, goalies can score. We saw Tyler Hadley for the men's team at Lynchburg score multiple goals in his career, but again, very, very rare, obviously.
And that's with one position normally. You don't see it very often in the lacrosse landscape. Even watch baseball. I covered a game the other day where the pitcher hits. Even that feels like a little weird wrinkles to the picture, but lacrosse, I feel like, makes it even crazier. As Morgenthaler tries to test the other goalkeeper, Sin, the sophomore stands firmly.
Not to digress too much, but I guess in soccer you have the scenario where sometimes late in the game the keeper will come up and get in on the offense, or occasionally take a free kick, occasionally a penalty kick.
Yes.
Specifically when it goes to the PKs after full time. But you do see that occasionally, and that's always fun. I mean, that's why it stood out to me.
Well, you got to make it a few rounds too, because it's normally not your first or second kick taker. But if you go long enough and you got to use your entire lineup, that's always interesting.
It's noteworthy, and who knows, we could have a goalie goal before our season is done here on Schellenberger. We've got some great games lined up for you. The schedule is available at lynchburgsports.com. Nice setup there as Dumas kind of came out of a crowd. Check out this set-piece design here. But not really a set piece, I guess, but just an offensive play design as Lynchburg really gets a crowd, a big mass of bodies, and one emerges, and that's the primary pass receiver there was Sydney Dumas.
Well, even the ricochet almost went in, and it shows how crisp that passing was. Put it right in the spot, and once again, the Marlins encounter trouble on the clearance. Here comes Steinow. Options to weave in and out, looks to the middle of the field, finds a cutting Quigley, fires left bottom side and in. There's the goalie that we were talking about. She gets a goal, scratch it into the stat sheet. 3 in white on the breakaway.
The senior will do anything for her team, including go back in there and play goalie. But this time she gets a goal. Awesome pass, great setup. Defense is out of position. Some velocity on that shot too, Evan.
Not much that Gunther could really do already behind the play, and like you just said, that was a great pass from Steinow too.
We're gonna get that ball out. We're keeping the game ball there, I believe, for Carson Quigley.
That's so impressive. Senior year. Can still start writing the numbers.
I've got her for 8 career goals. Is it possible they just wanted to switch balls, or is that I feel like that exchange there. I don't know if you got to see it or not, but Coach Mackenzie Rafferty kind of went over to the ref and handed him a new one, and the ref traded pellets there. I felt like that was for a reason.
I feel like that's a keepsake.
I think so. It's her first of the year. Is that right for Carson Quigley?
Believe so, and she has been in goal earlier in the season. believe she had one start. That's still impressive, and you know, anytime you can get a goal on the field is impressive enough. I mean, you don't have to do everything. Carson Quigley's just saying, watch this.
Right. That's so much fun right there. It's coming at Virginia Wesleyan's expense. I think the Marlins are still playing hard, Evan, but a little bit overmatched right now. Lynchburg's, I think, playing their A-plus lacrosse at the moment.
Well, all of a sudden, Dolt is on an island in goal. It's something we talked about earlier. She had a lot of great saves in that first quarter. Well, Lynchburg's cutters are starting to find those new angles and perhaps open some new windows. Here's an example of it as the Hornets clobbered right close to the goal. Reagan Bradley just a few steps away from winding and firing. Instead, they'll have a free position opportunity once again.
Bradley's got one already in this game. She's in that group of players with one goal, which Carson Quigley just joined. Lynchburg 10 goals from 7 different sticks.
She was ready to fire. Dolt able to defend it. And looks like we'll do it right over again. So Bradley gets one look. You got to go back in the blueprint for round 2.
Yeah, rerun basically the same spot here.
She's going to have a chance to shoot again. Imagine she does. Goes under this time and just denied. Dolt coming up big in big positions, and we talked about that free position. We've seen Lynchburg capitalize on a few, but Melissa Dolt is still playing really tough.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's tough right now for a netminder. You're down 9. Sometimes your defense might feel a little porous, but I really think she's doing great in the cage. I'm glad you keep talking about her. Neely Morris jumped that outlet pass and nearly got the steal. Yeah, Lynchburg's going to get something now.
Oh, and that's all you need. McKenna Steinow keeps it rolling, bounces it in. It looks so clinical when she hits her spot. One of the sharpshooters on this roster adds another to the tally.
Well, sharp angle, too. Not much space there to work with from the goal line extended. Got to it a little late, but we get to see the celebration there. Yeah, that was quality. Steinau's got 4.
Yeah, that's impressive. And McKenna Steinow is someone who is going to seize that moment. We've talked about it time and time again, but you're really starting to see that light shine. All ones on the scoreboard except Lynchburg has 2 of them. They're up 11-1 in this third quarter, 10-point disparity, and the clock is running now.
Think about that junior class for Lynchburg, Evan. It's Dumas, it's Steinow, it's Megan Wheeler, it's Emma Timberg, who's hurt right now. It's Taylor Doherty. It's just a really quality group there for the third years for Lynchburg. And they want to win this year, but gosh, reason to believe that they could be just on fire next season as seniors.
Especially having a goalkeeper who you expect to come back. You're not just having a senior fill in. We know Carson Quigley is more of that secondary keeper. You'll see her more in the field this year, but lots of reasons for optimism.
Yeah, and I didn't even name all the seniors just because I don't want to get too far away from the action as Lynchburg looks to score again.
Makes me proud to be a junior on campus this year.
I bet.
Just to be associated with players like that. Let them do the athletic stuff, and we'll just stand up here and talk about it.
Well, I start thinking about some other sports now and what the junior classes are like in those other sports, women's volleyball, baseball. There's that junior class. You guys and gals are going to leave a legacy. You're going to leave a footprint, man.
Well, you think about as well the recruiting timing of it all and how COVID really impacted a lot of things. I feel like it was that first almost normal year of people getting out of high school where you could go visit, you could go create chances. As one of those juniors off the mark this time, Dumas couldn't find it in her stick. But you're really just starting to see some consistency. And not that any of the new classes haven't had numbers, because several teams have also had those big-time recruiting classes. But it felt like every sports team kind of needed to reload that roster. You're starting to see it come to fruition now.
Well, and that's fantastic insight and personal insight from you, because, you went through that. Those of us who were not coming out of high school or in high school or college during the COVID time, we've got a different perspective on it, which is still interesting and unique, but a great call there by you to talk about it from that recruiting standpoint at the college world.
We could just be making it up, too. That's just a
Well,
hypothesis, but
yeah,
it sounds smart.
Everything was made up one time, right?
That's right.
At some point.
Then it became fact.
Yeah.
What's not made up right now, it's Lynchburg's performance. They are continuing to offensively and defensively find their stride, and they really have tried to do that this season. Tough competition at home to start the year, WNL and CNU. This is the first big-time win that could be ensuing, but the Marlins looking to add one to the tally. Another great stop and goal by Sin.
Yeah, it was. Shawnice Roan did a lot of the heavy lifting. She'll get the ball back, but, man, she took it on basically about a 75, 80-yard jaunt and made a really good pass at the end, too. That again, unselfish, because I think the tendency is, hey, I did all the hard work. I got it down to the goal. I'm going to shoot it, and she gave it up there, which is, I thought, really nice. I wish she would have got an assist on that.
So many plays like that can go unnoticed because lacrosse is obviously a numbers-friendly game. You have a lot to look at, but your eyes typically go to those main categories, goals or assists. You don't always see the plays that sometimes get drowned out, and it's impressive because those are normally the plays that are the difference makers. They can win championships.
Yeah, that's one place where, with the advanced analytics and the modern technology, you can track how much a player runs and sprints, and you can track some of those goal-scoring chance creations, those kinds of things. I guess you could always do that back in the day, but a little bit more quantifiable now maybe.
There's a statistic for everything. You just got to find it. Morgenthaler looking for goal number 2, threads it inside, and no one can corral Carly Jackson finally finding the escape route. Back to Sin, and here we go. The Hornets on the run.
But it started with that defense. Again, a couple fantastic stops on defense for Lynchburg. I'm really impressed what they're doing on that back line.
Poitras ready to insert. Pass, round 2, fire. Lynchburg back at it again. Bradley this time breaking through. Connect the dots right down the field. Another transition opportunity. And tell you what, Kyle, it just looks so tried and true at this point. Lynchburg on the run has been sensational.
A fantastic setup again, this time more of a transition opportunity. Good pass there when the double team came, and then Bradley basically steps through a double, shoots over, and scores. She's in the multi-goal category now, her second, as we've got a timeout on the field with the Hornets rolling. The Hive is buzzing here before spring break on Shelley.
A single thread is unique. Like each of us, full of purpose and potential. A strand designed to connect, strengthen, and unite. But we face different challenges and have different opportunities. By acknowledging that others may struggle in ways we do not, we can celebrate our differences, embrace each other, and fortify the ties among us. A single thread can fray, yet when it's woven with another, a bond forms. A new strength created by the fabric of the whole. Let's embrace the fabric we make together, the diversity of our threads, to reach beyond ourselves and overcome the impossible. The true power of our game comes from unifying our individual backgrounds, connecting our unique stories, enabling us to be stronger, braver, greater. We can achieve so much more when we are all as one.
What a season! The confetti is gonna fall. There she goes, and she's got it! How sweet is this, and how wonderful for the sport!
On campuses nationwide, the NCAA is making transformative changes for student athletes. While they pursue their biggest dreams, we're launching new initiatives to help them. Life-changing education opportunities are just the start. The NCAA is providing enhanced mental health services. We're guaranteeing scholarships and tuition and expanding access to healthcare. Visit ncaa.org/change to learn more.
That's a timeout on betting. It completely changed the game, and you didn't even notice. Let me break it down for you. Betting ads are applying full court pressure and getting you to play the game. Many of you are falling for it and losing big money. Addiction is happening in some more than others. Now players are getting harassed by bettors. And we all know that's not how the game is won. So it's on us to be good teammates and draw the line to stay ahead of betting.
Back to the circle we go. The Hornets and the Marlins, 12-1 here on Schellenberger Field. Third quarter action. Evan and Kyle hanging with you. It's been a great night so far, especially if you're a Hornets fan. You're starting to see the numbers pop out of the scoreboard, and it feels like this Lynchburg team is really getting into that mid-season rhythm, and it is getting close. You've played 4 games. It's not exactly a super long schedule, but Kyle, it just looks like this team is really poised and ready to go in the next few weeks.
Yeah, they were switched on and ready for this against, Virginia Wesleyan's a quality team. They don't look like it right now on the scoreboard, but I think the Marlins have a lot of things that are going to go right for them this year. They've had some positives in this game, but not a fun trip from Virginia Beach so far. Wow.
Neely Morris finding one way or another to thread it right through, left side and in. And tell you what, 19 will get your attention in a hurry. It almost feels like a pinball machine to find her way to the net.
Yeah, a little dance step up top. Watch that, fakes one way, continues. Enough room there to crank it. Perfect location, too. I mean, that's just it's undefendable down there for a goalie. I mean, you might be lucky enough to get your foot on that, but I don't know that you're getting the stick down there in time with the velocity and the moves up top.
That's good defense from Gunther, too. It didn't really look like there was anything out of rhythm. You just get beat by 1 or 2 steps. It might even take a half step, and it feels like you're playing catch-up.
7th career hat trick for Neely Morris. Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. She's taking flight. That's a reference to the Wright brothers, of course.
Oh, that's right. Yes. We talked about it last year. We always have to revisit. I think so. I was going to say Kitty Hawk really feels like a spirit animal or something. You take those two and you put it together.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Inform us on the Wright brothers story again too, while we're on the topic.
they were building bicycles in Ohio, and they started tinkering around with the first plane, and I guess they looked at some rudimentary data that said that Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, had the highest average winds. And, of course, if you've been to the Outer Banks or maybe just the beach in general, it typically is windy. But they had some kind of information that told them, try Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, and they did it. And there's the first flight there for the Wright brothers. The former bicycle builders became plane builders.
That's so cool. And I wonder, too, if you're from Kitty Hawk, if that's the conversation that always pops up, if it's like, okay, this is this and only this, or if we have some more, because I want to keep learning the story.
Yeah, I'm in the modern days, I don't know, it's probably all about reality TV, right? They had this show based down there. So
always something.
Right, that probably comes up more. But you would hope that the kids in elementary school are learning about Orville and Wilbur, the Wright brothers.
Neely Morris is going to get a pop quiz in a few weeks.
Yeah.
If you're a relative of number 19, just go ahead and maybe send that notification forward.
Yeah, tell her to expect that some need to know information about the Wright brothers.
She's going to pass this quiz as well. Laced one, almost hitting the net again.
Yeah, it's coming off her stick with some mustard, man. I love what she's doing with the velocity. Lynchburg will try to reset things, but Neely Morris really, really inserting herself into this one.
It's tough to say because you want to compare to freshman year. There were different personnel and obviously even a different coaching staff at that time, but it feels like Neely is someone who is not only gaining confidence, but she's taking those shots more frequently. Here's another wraparound, a chance for Quigley. Inserts to Dumas. Hornets just keep closing in on the goal before the referees intervene.
free position coming for Sydney Dumas. She has typically been pretty lethal in these spots.
This is about as clinical as it gets. 24 in goal. 7 taking the shot. So we await the whistle. This time another save by Dolt. Oh, wow. All day long, Sydney Dumas has been disrupted by 24 in Navy, and that's impressive too, because that is not the player you would expect to be the one you can shut down.
No, it looked like she tried to go to the 5-hole there intentionally, unintentionally, maybe not, don't know. But another good save in goal. Unfortunately, Dolt's going to have to go to work again, it looks like, as Lynchburg. They just continue to dominate the middle third. They continue to make it very hard for Virginia Wesleyan to get those clears and really get any kind of traction out there offensively.
It's very important to note, too, that this Hornets team is definitely using different rotations and different players at one time, but you're still seeing that seamless passing. Quigley had a nice move. This pass threads through. Still chances all around the Hornets, still probing.
Game clock under 30 here. Shot clock, as you said earlier, it's not off, but it's insignificant right now.
Reagan Bradley maybe the one to add to the tally. Hornets still keeping their eyes on the clock. This pass goes all the way through. Looks like this is how our third quarter will come to a conclusion, but the Hornets now putting up a baker's dozen and continuing to operate not only at a high rate, but with a lot of confidence. We have 15 more minutes to uncover the final pages of the story. But right here on Schellenberger, it's in the air. This Lynchburg team is on the prowl. We'll be right back on LHSN.
To national championships runs through NCAA.com. And whether you follow one college team or all of them, it's never been easier to get the content you want all in one place. With live broadcasts of multiple championships across all divisions, with exclusive access.
Turn this music on, we still dancing.
And highlights for every single championship. Stay in the game all season long with NCAA.com.
The NCAA sponsors 90 national championships each year, none of which could happen without officials. There's an urgent need for sports officials across the country, as they are retiring 4 times faster than they are coming in, leaving shortages at all levels of sport. The NCAA recognizes the importance of officiating on the student-athlete experience and is dedicated to the recruitment and retention of new officials for all sports. There are many great reasons to become an official. Stay in shape and get paid to do so. Meet new people and build relationships within a tight-knit community. Give back to the sport you love by creating a fair atmosphere and upholding the integrity of the game. Say yes to officiating. Visit ncaa.org/say yes to officiating for more information on how to get started. The NCAA is instrumental in Team USA's success at the Olympics. At the Summer Games, over 75% of Team USA's athletes competed collegiately, representing over 150 U.S. colleges and universities across Divisions 1, 2, and 3. Nearly a third of Team USA at the Winter Games were NCAA student athletes, and now they compete to bring home medals for our nation. The college athlete experience, a building block for success. The NCAA is proud Olympians and Paralympians are made here.
Getting set for the 4th and final quarter here on Schellenberger Field. There's a look at some of our attendees on this Friday night. Happy spring break. If you're home and you're watching this, enjoy your 9 days of freedom until you come back. Maybe you have a midterm on the other side. Maybe you completed it already, but Lynchburg's passing the test right now on Shelley, and 15 minutes to corroborate.
And I think the exam was a little bit tougher than people think. Again, this Virginia Wesleyan team came in at 2-2, just like Lynchburg. They've got high hopes for this season. They've got a second-year coach like the Hornets do, not going the way Virginia Wesleyan wanted it, but I think, again, that speaks to how quality of a lacrosse game Lynchburg has played through the first 3 quarters. On that shot when we came back, did you see somebody had their legs hanging out the window? Was that just me?
Might have to get another look at that.
It might have been like a Halloween prank or something up there. We might be able to scan that again, but
is it just an illusion? Why
could be. We had some optical delusions earlier today when we were coming on, so you're right. It might just be me going crazy up here. But yeah, we should assume that smaller crowd on campus, Evan, means we've got more people watching. So
that's right.
Hopefully we haven't let them down.
The Virginia Beach crowd as well.
Yep.
Please send the heat. We're starting to see 70s and 80s next week, so we appreciate the service, but let's just keep it rolling.
Yeah, our next home game for women's lacrosse is Tuesday, March 18th, when the Ferrum Panthers will come calling.
Another ODAC team, and that will be after the spring break trip down to Florida. Lynchburg will have those 3 games coming up, 2 in Florida, 1 against Ferrum. For Virginia Wesleyan, they've got DeSales, Marietta, and Randolph, all really within a week, and that's not necessarily unconventional knowing that the spring season happens so quickly. It's really March, April, and out, but it does feel like that schedule is starting to get filled.
Yeah, I think for the Marlins, it ends up being 4 games in 8 days, which, you know, maybe noteworthy, maybe negligible. I don't know. I guess it depends on your opinion. It depends on probably your fitness level and your cardio work, whether 4 games in 8 days is a problem or not.
If 11 players are starting every single game, you better make sure that the AT staff is staying up to date, because you definitely want to keep those in the mix.
Well, yeah, and not a deep bench for Virginia Wesleyan. So, I mean, that will be a factor for the coaching staff to think about. How can we lighten the load a little bit and make sure we do stay as fresh as possible?
Got to keep Morgenthaler fresh. She's denied this time, but a nice-looking shot, and once again getting that one on target, as Lynchburg's Jamie Thomas was ready to be off and running. So look at the lights. Is that some precipitation?
A little bit of light rain. Now we got that to deal with again, too. I still have nightmares from that CNU Lynchburg game where we were in the cold rain all night. That was brutal.
Better you than me. We're at an indoor track meet, and it's a little bit easier when you get to look at the rain from the cozy confines of wherever you're running ovals around.
Yeah, anybody watching that remembers that home opener earlier this season for Lynchburg knows what I'm talking about. That was a miserable day to be outside in a game that did not go Lynchburg's way either. But this one is different, Evan.
That's right, and though you can't necessarily see it right now, sun was out and booming earlier. It's been a nice week in the Hill City, and other than some crazy wind just a few days ago that also had some power outages in the area, it's been the perfect storm. Lynchburg right back on the board and continuing to press on forward. This time, it's not hot sweet, it's hot sour with the goal. Number 28 in white getting her stick checked out. One of the fantastic returners, a sophomore this year, and she's going to be a big difference maker on the front line.
Yeah, it was a thing of beauty. She got set up in exactly the right area. Then it was catch, turn, and shoot all in one motion. And she was on the mark. I believe Lynchburg's 8th goal scored now. I'll try to confirm that for you. You can follow along with the live stats. They're online, again, at lynchburgsports.com.
Maya Hossauer, somebody who has really just found her stride and in a big way. 4 hat tricks last year. She scored the dagger versus Randolph-Macon. And to have 20 goals during that rookie campaign once again just shows some of that trust and some of that depth that Coach Rafferty has experienced.
And not to blow my own trumpet here or anything, Evan, but I was right. It's 14 goals from 8 different players for Lynchburg.
Wow.
Outstanding distribution. Oh, is the wow about me being right?
Oh, well, I was thinking on the fly. I heard 8 at first. I was trying to figure out, well, gosh, there's 14 on the scoreboard. We got you now.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And, you know, sometimes coaches will say, hey, let's get somebody else involved. If you haven't scored yet, you get the next shot. Those kinds of things can get talked about. But as you know, so much of the game is freelanced, and it's impossible to set things up. And also, you don't want to handcuff anybody. I mean, if you've already got 4 goals and you're wide open. I don't think any coach is going to tell you not to shoot. Maybe I shouldn't say any coach, but I'll say most coaches.
That's right.
But yeah, you hear that sometimes, and sometimes it's even player-led where they'll say, hey, you don't have a goal yet. Make sure you take a shot, those kinds of things, which is fun. And I think probably most of the great programs are player-led. Don't you think, Evan?
I would agree, and especially some of the veterans. We've talked about this team. It's a pretty healthy mix when you look at all 4 classes. None really stands out, but it does feel like they have experience of all sorts, as Morgenthaler doing everything she can to bust open the frame. Can't do it this time.
Alexis Sin, outstanding for Lynchburg. We're probably going to have a free position coming up here, we would imagine, based on what we saw.
Contact from Jackson, so winding and potentially firing for the Marlins is going to be Kyla DeWeese. And this time it pays off. The Marlins come back after that first goal way early in the first quarter, able to crack the scoreboard again. And we're starting to see that was some seamless execution.
Looks like 9 first years on the roster for Virginia Wesleyan, so they're going to be good in the future. And the 2 goal scorers tonight are both freshmen. Good shot there by DeWeese, a little kind of a shuffle step and then fire to the low corner there. Very nicely executed. That breaks the 14 unanswered run for Lynchburg. It's now just 14 consecutive goals that Lynchburg has scored, but still on top by a bunch. Nice goal there by DeWeese.
I like the point about the freshmen as well, because we mentioned it earlier. When you're trying to replace some of those contributions up front, you really want to make sure that you do have somebody to come in that's going to be sustainable for the future. We've started to see Morgenthaler in that equation, whereas Lynchburg really has the opposite. You look at last year between Sydney Dumas and Nelia Morris, I believe it was 39% of the goals for the Hornets from that 2024 campaign, and obviously they're both still suiting up in white.
Yeah, I got Lynchburg as returning 85% of their goals from last year. I dug that stat up to start our season. 198 of 232 goals are back. So, yes, Lynchburg did definitely lose some important pieces last year. Don't minimize that, but there is a lot of talent on the roster again this year.
And what's interesting about Lynchburg's setup is that most of the returners are attackers. You're starting to see with Dumas, Neely Morris, McKenna Steinau, the top goal scorers. They're all still members of that junior class that we alluded to earlier. As the Marlins have the window open, ready to fire. This time there's a scramble for it.
Good transition work for Virginia Wesleyan on the fast break. Give Lynchburg some credit for hustling back and helping to fortify the back line of that defense and picking up the rebound when it came off.
It feels like Lynchburg is just really starting to roll in those situations that could go the opposite way. You want to make sure when your back is against the wall, especially on defense, that you're not wavering, that there's still that confidence. The Hornets have executed in every single equation. Offsides call, green card comes out.
Alexis Polly checked in for Lynchburg. I don't think we've seen her yet, Evan, so great to get the sophomore from Buena Vista out there, listed as a defender. She's on that side right now for the Hornets.
Polly wearing number 1. So many of the numbers, thankfully, have stayed the same from last year. You see some sports where everybody wants to wear some different threads, and it's great for the uniqueness of it, but you do want to try and get that hammered down if you're an announcer or a statistician.
Yeah, just us making it all about us again definitely
That's
helps
right,
when
exactly.
the numbers stay the same.
Let them have their thing, and Lynchburg has the break they've been waiting for, and it's number 27, Isabella Vogel. We have been mentioning her name at her first career goal versus Guilford. She strikes again for the first time on the Shelley turf.
Shrewsbury, Pennsylvania, first-year attacker. And here we go. What a move, yeah. And actually floated away from the goal there, if you can see that, Evan. Typically, I think, again, you always wish you want to go to the goal, go to the goal. She actually, on that turn, kind of floated away. That gave her some separation from the defender. Might have actually increased the shooting angle. Good one there from Vogel. 9 goal scorers now for the Hornets. 9.
perhaps one more in the cards to make it double figures. And that's a great point about fading away, because you don't necessarily see that as frequently. And obviously, you know, I think the lacrosse nerds out there will have the more answers about those different angles and the great situations that you want to take advantage of. But I do like increasing that, especially knowing there's going to be a lot of traffic right there at the goal. You got to be ready to craft that angle almost out of nothing.
That's exactly right. And the danger of that could be, do you let more defenders from behind you have a chance? In that case, Vogel had a pretty clean, tidy workspace to operate in.
Marlins have some space, chance to pass, under 5 minutes to play, and a contest that has gone Lynchburg's way really coast to coast. The Marlins scored first, and the Hornets were able to really hammer out a solid 14-goal streak before Virginia Wesleyan answered back, and this time they're trying to test Sen again. Carter on the far side of the goal.
Good exchange there. Very sporting on the exchange by Sen to just drop it in.
That's efficient.
Well,
Let's keep the game going.
Sometimes you chuck it at your opponent. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
In disgust.
The card is one pocket away, but the Marlins taking advantage. They get it back in their sticks. They fire it home for goal number 3 of the contest, and you start to see the free position opportunity wake up again. So Alexis Sen, the sophomore, can't keep the Marlins off the board this time. There's another look at it, just going right downstairs. It's as easy as it gets sometimes.
Gianna Delavan there with goal number 8 of the season. Now the Marlins have 3 goals from 3 different goal scorers, so they're spreading around, just not enough of it right now for Virginia Wesleyan. I think Lynchburg's going to feel real good about this performance. Both teams still playing hard, which is always nice to see. We expect that in these ODAC games, you know, and you're always looking for the next game too. As a coach, you're always looking to see, well, who is going to play hard in a lopsided score line? Who is somebody that maybe deserves more activity and more participation? And look, I think most coaches would tell you too, you're going to learn more even in the fourth quarter of a blowout about your team than practice. Maybe I shouldn't say more, but you might learn different things about your team in a game like this rather than a practice session. Yeah, everybody wants a close game. Everybody wants to win. We know that, but that's not happening right now for Virginia Wesleyan. But credit the Marlins for continuing to show some spirit and some fight.
Well said, and it comes down to the freshmen as well. It's some of the mindset things, some of the decisions, because you can still monitor that in the first minute and in the 60th. And you know that this Lynchburg team is trying to find that perfect 12 come the postseason time. The Hornets want to get back to that spot. They lost in the ODAC quarterfinal last year to a team they beat in the regular season, Randolph-Macon.
Yeah, great point there from the Lynchburg perspective. You're still looking for some things as an individual. Hey, who doesn't want to score a goal? You know, you don't even want to call it a cheapie or that kind of a goal. I mean, it's you get the time, you play it hard. So even with 2:02 left here, 2 minutes left, you got a chance to score one from straight away on a free position.
Beautiful opportunity, the Hornets. Face-to-face with Dolt. Shot goes downstairs and in. Maya Hossauer adds number 2 to her tally on the contest, and once again just looked really composed, firing away.
Lynchburg really picking out the post nicely. They are making life very difficult on Dolt. And, yeah, another one they went down low. Great option right there. All going Lynchburg's way again. Hossauer joins the collective of Hornets that has multiple goals. Now it's 4 Lynchburg players that have scored more than once in this contest.
The midfielder from Pinehurst, North Carolina, adds one more. We're 70 seconds away. This is the third of only 7 home games for this women's lacrosse team this season, and it feels like it's already slipping away. Kyle, the first one you and I have both gotten to work together, but it just feels like those next 4 are really going to be crucial because you start seeing it spaced out more and more. So the next time that we chat, though we know the Hornets are going to face Ferrum after a pair of non-conference affairs, you're going to learn a lot more about this team, and that season goes away in a hurry.
It does. We got the time change this weekend, so, you know, later on in the year it might still be some daylight out there right now, which is always odd. And you know, really can be a factor, as we've talked about, with the setting sun, the goal to our right.
Absolutely.
Can sometimes be very difficult for a goalie with that setting sun. So it's more than just something to fill time with. It's actually a thing that impacts the game occasionally there with that time change.
Well, the doubles as well, men's and the women's games going on. You got to make sure that one of the teams is playing a little early and not at 11 o'clock at night as Dumas weaves in and out. We'll see if the Hornets have one more. It looks like they're going to take this one away, and they'll take the victory in ODAC play. Moving above 500 now, 3-2 after a dominant display. 16-3 is where our score lies after 60 minutes. The Hornets defeat the Marlins. They do so with a committee effort. And Kyle, that's probably the most important and most impressive part of this game from Lynchburg.
I think you can see the noticeable improvement from this Lynchburg team from game one to right now. Competition different, yes, but this was an A-plus effort, I think, for Lynchburg. They win it 16-3. Not at full strength, and basically they've been dealing with injuries, as we've mentioned, for the last 2 years. So I like the fact that they're getting a lot of people involved because it's kind of that next woman up mentality, to use the cliche. Lynchburg seems to be buying into that. They're playing team lacrosse and playing pretty efficient lacrosse too.
Well, Virginia Wesleyan will go at home against DeSales on Monday at 3 o'clock, and as you said, Lynchburg really tapping into all categories. They're going to head down to Florida. They'll face Warner at 5 o'clock on Monday. Lynchburg able to take this contest, and when you look at the series that against the Marlins, they've really dominated in recent history. They've now won 14 straight and 6 of the last 8 by double figures. They're going to try to keep it going against the rest of the ODAC, and Kyle, as we said, it will be approaching quickly, but it feels like if Lynchburg can keep this attack intact, then you know that they're ready to fire, and it feels like they haven't missed a beat.
You're exactly right. It's a team that as they get healthier, they're going to get better and better. Still some tough customers on the schedule for Lynchburg. We know that, but they clear a little psychological hurdle going over 500. Over 500 in ODAC play now at 2-1. Wesleyan fans should stay patient. That's a young team. I know they haven't had a winning season since 2018, which is kind of hard to believe, but the Marlins have got some better days coming, so hopefully they can keep it together and keep moving in the right direction, and hopefully we'll see some more great games between these two squads.
A lot to look forward to and a lot that we've seen tonight. We will take it and dissect it, but it's been a fun night here in the Hill City. Lynchburg wins by a baker's dozen, and a big thanks to you watching. For our entire LHSN crew and our director, Ethan Moratsky, he's Kyle Haney, and I'm Evan Gates saying so long from the Hill City.